Am I the asshole for proposing to my girlfriend? My 26 male sister Emily, 31 female, got married last week. Her now husband Jacob, 28 male, is a good friend of mine, and I introduced them. After Emily and Jacob announced their engagement, my family were constantly asking when I was going to propose to my girlfriend Genevieve, 23. I decided I wanted to do it in front of my whole family, and the first place I thought of was Emily and Jacob's wedding. I asked Jacob if I could propose at the wedding, and he said yes, and I thought after that it would be fine. I proposed to her at the reception, and she said no. And then she confessed to me that her and Jacob have been sleeping together. Emily went crazy. She blames me for everything, saying that I ruined her whole wedding and forced her to marry a man who doesn't love her. They didn't go on their honeymoon. Eventually, Emily calmed down and she decided to stay with Jake. Genevieve and I are broken up for good. A week after the wedding, Genevieve told me she's pregnant.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know if it's mine or Jake's. Emily flipped out again and told me that I needed to tell Genevieve to get an abortion. She said that you don't want to have a kid with such a disgusting slut, and if the baby is Jake's, it will destroy her life more than I already have. Genevieve has decided that she wants to keep the baby and won't get an abortion. Am I the asshole for everything that happened?
Am I the asshole for refusing to cater to a pregnant, ill woman who has nobody to help her? My husband's deployed overseas and I take care of a newborn and my 3-year-old niece. I have no family or friends around here to help me or give me a break, and I'm doing this all by myself. I'm exhausted and have no sleep schedule or routine for myself as the kids are expectedly demanding. It's to the point where I feel like I'm going to throw up if I don't get rest when I can. My husband met someone overseas who's stationed at our base, and he says his wife is here, pregnant and ill. She has severe PTSD and anxiety and can't drive herself anywhere. He volunteered me to drive her around to her early AM appointments without asking me first. He loves helping people, I get it, but that's where I'm like, what about me? When he called me and told me about it, I said no. I physically cannot put in the extra work to take care of another human being, especially an adult who I don't know. He got upset with me because he already told his mate that I could help them. I can't. I genuinely cannot unless they want me to lose what little sanity I have. I told him this, but he doesn't seem to think that I'm having that hard of a time and could easily help someone out in need. I am running on fumes and figured out how to manage with what I have. The extra work could quite literally break me. He thinks I'm being insensitive, and how would I feel if I needed help but there was no one there to help me? I said I need help myself and he thinks I'm dramatic. Am I the asshole for not apologizing to my brother and sister-in-law for saying they starved their baby? My brother and his wife had their first baby 7 months ago. My mother, who lives with me, recently started watching the baby instead of placing in daycare, so the baby's at my house all week. It's been a month and my mom says that the baby barely sleeps, will cry, and shows signs of tiredness but only naps for half an hour at the most. My brother and sister-in-law have also told us the baby still wakes up almost every 1 to 2 hours throughout the night like a newborn, and it's extremely exhausting. The baby only drinks breast milk, and while I know every baby is different and what works for some might not work for others, I still can't help but think they aren't feeding the baby enough. As a mother of 3, all my kids started differently. After finding out they only feed the baby 4 ounces at a time, I suggested talking to the pediatrician about starting the baby on solids. They said the doctor already gave them the go-ahead, but they didn't think the baby was ready. So I said I think upping ounces in milk would probably help the baby sleep better. They brushed me off, then last Friday my mom was watching the baby and decided to give the baby mashed up banana. The baby loved it. My sister-in-law was pissed, and I can obviously see why. My mom wouldn't back down, saying that they're starving her grandchild. They called me and demanded I get in the middle and make my mom apologize or she wouldn't see the baby anymore. I said she should apologize for not getting permission, but not for her reasoning.
I slept with my daughter's ex-boyfriend. He got me pregnant and I had an abortion. This was back in, let me think, maybe 1997? I was 38 and my daughter was 18, and she was dating Harry, who was 24. I was an alcoholic and dabbled in other drugs, mostly cocaine. I was not a good person, let alone mother. Not like I was abusive to my daughter or anything, but I was generally inattentive and cared more about my alcohol and drugs than her, especially in her teen years. I am 14 years sober now. I disapprove of my daughter dating Harry, but I never told her why. He would flirt with me, constantly, and the age difference also creeped me out. Also, he was an alcoholic and drug user, just like me. She broke up with him over his alcoholism. Soon after she moved away, not too far, but regardless she didn't live with me anymore. Harry kept calling me and asking if we wanted to get drinks. I turned him down, but then one day he said he had a bunch of coke and I couldn't resist. He came over, we did the coke, and we ended up having sex. He was a very good-looking guy. He looked a lot like that ridiculous 80s Justin Bieber picture that was on the front page today. That is actually what made me think about him. For the next few months, maybe like 3 to 4 months, he would sometimes come over and we would have sex and do drugs and get drunk together. Any drug addict knows what that is like to have a drug addict buddy in that way. Then I got pregnant. I knew it was by him. I had sex without a condom a few times stupidly. I never told him I was pregnant, and I went and got the abortion and kept it a secret. Anyways, I stopped seeing him after that. It was too weird. I also got sober for like 4 months before relapsing. Fast forward 2 years and my daughter contacts me and tells me that she got back with Harry and that he is fully sober. I was mortified, honestly. He was gonna tell her that we slept together and she is going to hate me for life. They came over one day and said hi, and when my daughter was gone, Harry told me that there is no reason to tell her about what happened. I agreed. It's been 16 years of marriage on their part. They have a kid together. Harry got cancer, then beat it. I got sober. That's basically it. I don't see them very often. They live in Texas and I live on the East Coast. But whenever I do, there is always that tension between me and Harry. It's literally the first thing that comes to either of our minds, I can just tell. Not like sexual tension, like why did we have to do that? What the f is wrong with us, kind of tension.
Am I the asshole for taking back my wedding dress after my sister-in-law took back my invitation? My sister-in-law and I are like sisters. Same age, same interests, hobbies, same style and fashion, etc. Her family are vicious people. They always comment on me and my wife and act as if we're less than. We ignore them and only see them on big occasions. My sister-in-law liked my wedding dress a lot and asked me to wear it for her wedding. I said of course and was thrilled it meant that much to her. I sent the dress and received the invitation. I noticed my wife's name wasn't on the invitation. I called my sister-in-law to ask and she told me that they were giving her hell for inviting me and my wife because they don't like us for obvious reasons, and they agreed. She apologized profoundly, saying that she hoped I'd understand because her parents are paying for the wedding. She said they even messed with the entire guest list, so I shouldn't take it personal. I said I won't come unless my wife comes. She got upset and told me to let it go, but I refused and she ended up taking back the invitation, saying she was sorry, she just didn't want the drama. I said no hard feelings and asked my brother to send back the dress. My sister-in-law came over crying, begging me to let her have it since she's not the one with the budget and her parents told her to pay for her own wedding dress, but she has no money. My parents told me to let her have it and reminded me of how strong our bond is. It clearly wasn't that strong.
Am I the asshole for being frustrated that my girlfriend doesn't work hard at her job and gets paid nearly twice as much as I do? My girlfriend and I both work in tech. When we both worked in different offices, I didn't know much about her day-to-day life at work. I knew she made a lot more than me, $120,000 compared to my $66,000. But since we've been working from home, I've seen a lot of her daily schedule, and hers versus mine are very different. She gets up around 9:15 to drag herself into the home office for her 9:30 to 10 o'clock meeting. After the meeting, she goes and showers, has breakfast, and from about 10 to 10:45, answering just a few Slack messages and emails on her phone, but mostly just listening to podcasts and eating and doing her morning routine. She'll work till noon and takes a lunch break from noon till 1. Then she works from 1 to 4, often having meetings or working on her own stuff. And at 4, we'll spend an hour or so doing household chores and stuff. I, on the other hand, basically work nonstop from 8:30 to 5, or maybe even 6, working 8.5 hours, 9.5 hours a day. And a few weeks ago, I kind of got frustrated with her for basically hardly doing anything for her job. She got frustrated with me and said that they hired her for her knowledge, and it wasn't my place to say what her time was worth. And that if her boss and CEO saw the work she produced, that it wasn't my place to undervalue her because I was being jealous. I said that she was being a little privileged. Not a lot of people can just choose to make 6 figures and wander off from work for practically half the day.
Am I the asshole for breaking my promise to my stepkids, and abandoning and traumatizing them because I did not want to parent them anymore? I met Will when I was 22. Will was 29, with 2 kids, and had newly been widowed. We had whirlwind courtship where he introduced me to the kids and got me involved in their lives very early. First few days after I met him, Will said really quickly he was sure I was the one. Not only for himself but also for his kids. That we'd have an incredible, happy family life. We got married when I was 23, Will was 30, and his kids were 8 and 6. Our wedding ceremony also included me and the kids making promises to each other, which was Will's idea. Soon Will shoved all the childcare onto me. I wasn't a stay-at-home spouse, I worked full-time and always have. But he always had reasons for me to do the childcare, him being sore from doing a physical job, me being better at it since I babysat kids this age in the past and he never had. Or girl stuff for his daughter. Or cooking or anything. He always had some reason and it ended up always on me. He started playing video games and relaxing from getting home until bed, because he was tired and he was bringing in the money and keeping the roof over everyone's heads, though that wasn't really true. He said he deserved to relax. Then he went out with his friends or brought them back to drink beer and watch loud TV. He developed a major attitude with me, and encouraged same in the kids. They found it funny. He started openly disrespecting me and encouraged them to also. He was the ultimate fun dad and I got put in the role of the mean witch. Sometimes they all ganged up on me and mocked me. But also all expected me to serve them and constantly be jumping up to care for them. By the end of the first year I realized the marriage was a big mistake, but felt guilty leaving because of my promises to the kids. Another year went by and I realized that no matter how I tried, and how I knew they were only kids and I didn't really blame them, I genuinely hated both of the kids. And I could not lie to myself anymore and pretend that I loved them. I did not, and I never would. One day I just walked out, packed up everything of mine and moved out while nobody was at home. I left a note explaining it wasn't working and saying goodbye. That was the end. Cue shitstorm from my ex and a bitter divorce, but we both walked away with what we went into the marriage with, not much for either of us. I had never legally adopted the kids so I had no rights or responsibilities about them and I never reached out to any of them again. Honestly I was overjoyed to be rid of all of them. 15 years have gone by and that seems like a lifetime ago, or another person's life, but I'm still in my 30s. I was recently shocked to get a message from Tamara, Will's daughter, now 25. Tamara said I betrayed and traumatized her for life for abandoning them after my promises to them. She said I had a responsibility to never leave no matter what. I know she remembers the horrible way she treated me though.
Am I the asshole for making my daughter sleep outside in a tent after catching her cussing out a homeless man on the street? I am a 34-year-old female and a single mother of 2 girls, Jasmine a 16-year-old female and Jessica a 14-year-old female. Their dad died when I was pregnant with Jess and I had to work hard. We hit rock bottom and I was barely making it paycheck to paycheck, but I managed to get a degree, become successful, and we live well. Point is, I know how effing hard it is to be at the bottom of society and my daughter knows this, which is why I was livid at my daughter's actions. Fast forward, now to the story. Yesterday, Jasmine showed me a video of Jessica cussing out a homeless man and telling him, "Stop asking me for money, you'd earn it yourself if you weren't so fucking lazy and spending what you earned on substances." When the homeless man complained about the cold, we live in Northeast England, Jessica responded, "Yeah, people camp for fun, even in December. You can't complain, you're living someone's holiday." Fury was an understatement for what I felt, as I thought I had raised an empathetic daughter. Along with finding the homeless man and making her apologize and making her pay for a hotel for a night for him, as well as signing her up to volunteer at a food bank, I decided to take her up on her offer of sleeping outside. I locked her bedroom door so she couldn't go in, put a sign on it saying closed for the holidays, pitched a tent in the garden and filled it with blankets and the sleeping bag I used when I was camping in Norway. I slept in the room closer to the garden for the night so I was nearby if anything was to go wrong. She was reluctant to do it, but chose it over the option of not having access to her phone until the Christmas holidays are over. In the morning, she was crying about how horrible it was to wake up on a cold mat and get disrupted sleep due to birds. After comforting her, I asked her would she like to do that every day like the homeless man. It struck a chord with her and she was crying over her actions. While even after paying for the hotel room, she was rolling her eyes and even her apology was not sincere. This afternoon, I came home from work to make Jessica a big meal to donate to the homeless people who live on the road near our house. I was proud of how she turned over a new leaf, and after taking the food to the people, my sister came over. Apparently, my nephew and Jessica were talking at school, and he asked her about the plans for the afternoon, and she said she was going to cook for the homeless. My nephew asked what triggered that, and Jess told him everything, which he relayed back to his mother. My sister said that my punishment was way too harsh, and just that paying for the room and the food bank would have done the trick, and I was acting irrationally due to my past. Now I'm second guessing myself. Am I the asshole?
I tried to miscarry my baby and hurt her permanently. When I was 15, I got myself pregnant unintentionally. I was a very promiscuous, horny teenager and I wasn't exactly safe about it. Sometimes I used condoms, sometimes I didn't. I got really worried when I started experiencing the usual symptoms of morning headaches and nausea and skipped my period, so I took a pregnancy test and what I feared was true, I was pregnant. I had no idea how to react to this. For one, I was utterly terrified and I wanted to get rid of it. In a way it felt parasitic, the thing inside me with the power to fuck my life up. I have very Christian parents who would have disowned me for having an abortion, but I knew they would actually love to raise this kid. However, I hated the idea. I had problems with eating at the time and didn't want to gain the pregnancy weight and I just didn't want a child. I guess I'm making excuses, even now. I started a smoking habit very promptly, since I'd heard in science lessons that one of the effects of smoking can be miscarriage. I barely ate at all, and if I did I threw it up, all in the hopes of starving it as if I was trying to get rid of a fever. It didn't work. I gave birth to her far too early and as a result she is blind. I gave her away and haven't heard from her since, she's 8 by now.
Am I the asshole for refusing to let someone order an item off of the menu? I'm a waitress, and I have a semi-regular family that comes in every once in a while. Every time they come in, they order their youngest child macaroni and cheese. First time I served them, the child threw up all over the booth. I didn't think much of it, just that he was sick or had an upset stomach. The next time was the same thing, mac and cheese, then puke. This is an every time occurrence. The kid orders mac and cheese, then throws up. The kid never gets to the bathroom, and most of the time he doesn't even make an attempt to leave the table. I believe once he started walking to the bathroom, but that's it. The most recent time they came in, the child went to order mac and cheese again, and I asked the mom, he gets sick every time. The mom said, oh yeah, Kraft mac and cheese makes him sick, but he wants it. I said, ma'am, I'm sorry, but I don't think your child should order this if you know he's gonna puke from eating it. And quite frankly, I really don't want to have to clean up vomit tonight. The mom threw a bit of a fit, and the manager had to come over and was agreeing with me. Was I in the wrong for not wanting / allowing him to order the mac and cheese that makes him sick?
Am I the asshole for telling my sister to act poor in front of my in-laws? I'm marrying my fiancé, Kevin, this winter. My sister, Leah, dated Kevin's older brother, Richard, for 3 years. They broke up 2 years ago. It was a messy breakup, and when my sister moved on, got married and had a baby, Richard is still really sour about it. After they broke up, he would badmouth my sister any chance he would get. I hate confrontation, so I wouldn't say anything about it. Since Richard blames Leah for the entire breakup, and his family believed him, they all got a kick out of her getting bashed. Richard claimed Leah was living in poverty, unemployed, married to some bum, and my nephew was ugly. Here's where the problem is. None of that is true. Leah is married, but to a handsome and successful man. My nephew is very adorable, and they live in a nice house. Since Richard is extremely rich, he's paying for our wedding. Leah is invited, but I asked her not to get too dressed up and not to invite her husband or nephew, as instructed by Richard. If they show up, then the family will know the truth. Richard said he only bashed Leah to get over her, and it wasn't anything personal. Leah said she isn't coming, but she doesn't realize this is my dream wedding. Am I the asshole?